Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
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 Good afternoon.
What do you do as a part-time job?
I pour alcohol down the throats of the underclasses to null their feelings because football isn't on 7 days a week.
Why do you do that?
Because the underclasses, or the vermin, as I like to call them, need their booze. Time has taught us this. They need their booze.
Why do you sound posh?
That is because my parents were posh. They were born with a silver spoon in their mouth. They had money. I now have money. I like money. I sleep on a bed made of money. Occasionally I give money to the poor, just to make myself feel better, but also to remind them that I have the power.
Okay. Now, what do you do as a full-time job?
I teach at the local comprehensive school.
Is it good there?
It's very good. In fact, it hasn't even been turned into an academy yet. So it's a particularly good school. I tend to speak more in this kind of middle class accent, as I like to think of it, just so the youth of today can understand what I'm saying. But I like educating children. They need education because unfortunately not all of them are as wealthy as me and my family. Or should I say my family, I. That is of course grammatically correct and what I learnt when I was being taught.
Do you have any tramps at your school or your bar?
We have one tramp at the school. He's also the same tramp we see at the bar that I own on a part-time basis because, frankly, the full-time wages I earn aren't as good as really things used to be. It's a sad state of affairs, but teachers are only now actually paid £100,000 per year. It used to be the case that they were paid £200,000 per year, but nowadays that just isn't the case. So I've got to top up my money. That involves putting a few pints. Doesn't really bother me particularly. I get to hang around with the scum, such as the tramp that I see on a regular basis in my bar drinking and bar pulling job. Yeah, his name's Brian, as discussed previously. We also have his son, who actually attends our local school. He's essentially a tramp. He hasn't quite gotten onto the concept of antiperspirant yet. That boy stinks.
Hence why you use it once a week, usually on Saturdays.
That's correct, yeah. He's a smelly man, is Brian's son. He has a name, but I tend not to call him by that name. His actual name is just James, quite bland, unlike mine.
What's your name?
Robert Stevenson, yes. Named after Robert Stevenson, my father. But Brian's son, Ken, or whatever I just made up a minute ago, is, the man stinks. Yeah, I think of him as a man. He should be by now. He's in the 5th year. He's about to do his GCSEs, although I'm not confident in his ability to perform particularly well. He's not educated.
Is he a scum?
He's I don't know what word he'd use to describe him, but he's unpleasant, essentially. It's rather unfortunate. I don't think he'll ever find true love, or any kind of love for that matter.
Just like you, adding antiperspirant on a Saturday.
That's right, antiperspirant on Saturday, you just can't beat it. It's the healthiest option. But yes, that's my life. That's what's happening. Here we are having this discussion
About Brian's son.
about Brian's son.
In your former posh college, and you're pulling pints
That's right.
in under 3 seconds, and
Yeah.
whatever we discussed in the other interview.
That's right. So therefore, this interview can be relevant to that one we did earlier on. So when people are watching it online later on, they can just sort of see how the two things are connected, which will be quite clever. Hopefully, they appreciate that.
But what is the hygiene at your school?
It's slightly better than at my pub, to be honest.
5 out of 18.
Well, that was high. Admittedly, that was high.
There's a hashtag.
Is there?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. It's the sort of thing young people get involved in. But my school's hygiene is actually 19 out of 18. It's that high.
That doesn't make sense. So it's like, is it 18 out of 19 or 19 out of 18?
It's actually 19 out of 18. All I do it that way because that means younger people can understand it because their minds are all a bit weird. They're all over the place.
Just like yours.
My mind, yeah, in this, yes, it's possibly a bit deranged at the moment. I've got a lot of things that I'm thinking about. Yeah, but what can I say that's of any sort of interest or anything that's amusing? Possibly nothing, but, I'm not the judge.
And have your parents, how can I say this, passed away?
They both passed away, actually. Yes.
Due to poshness?
It wasn't due to poshness. What happened is
with a spoon in their mouth.
Yeah, the silver spoon in their mouth. Actually, what I did was I used that to dig their graves after I killed them both, because we had a dispute over the will. I wanted them to release some equity to me when I hit 27. I'm now actually 49. They weren't keen on giving me any money at such a young age. They thought I was young, that I was profligate, that I'd just waste the money on
So you killed
drugs. So I had to essentially kill them both. They're buried in the back garden of my estate in Northampton, but don't tell the police that, because they might go to this imaginary estate in Northampton and try to dig it up, but they'd probably use something bigger than a silver spoon. Or at least I'd recommend that, because it took a long time to bury them. It took so long that I actually kind of technically decomposed. But it was a horrible evening. It reminded me of Shallow Grave. In fact, that's where I got the idea from.
So, this spoon, have the police ever seen you with it?
No, because I'm particularly cautious about all of the evidence that was involved on that fateful night back in 1991. It was still a traumatic year for me, just before England had sadly gone out of the World Cup in the semi-finals of Germany. It was a particularly emotional occasion.
My partner was born in 1970.
That's fascinating. Your partner was born in 1917.
Okay.
But to return to your question, fortunately I managed to dispose of all the evidence, although there is one particular piece of evidence that the police will never, ever get their hands upon, because I guard it very, very closely.